The Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was not merely a vessel of war, but a testament to the Empire's philosophy of absolute control through calculated destruction. Though modest in scale compared to its larger counterparts, the Gladiator carried within its hull the concentrated fury of a predator. Sleek, yet unrelenting, agile, yet powerful. It was a hunter crafted for precision, a warship that could slip between the cracks of galactic battlefields and emerge as a harbinger of ruin. Every weapon mounted upon the Gladiator's frame was a stroke in a symphony of devastation, a deliberate choice to ensure its dominance in any encounter. At the forefront of this design were its light dual turbo laser turrets, 12 elegantly balanced instruments of destruction. These turbo lasers, though less grandiose than the monstrous batteries of Imperial-class Star Destroyers, reflected a philosophy of precision over brute force. Each turret was an artist's tool, each shot a brushstroke painting devastation across the void. They were placed with meticulous care, spread across the ship's superstructure to maximize coverage, ensuring no enemy vessel could approach unchallenged. Their dual-barreled design allowed for rapid, alternating fire, creating a near-constant stream of energy capable of overwhelming smaller ships or harrying the shields of larger foes. These turrets did not merely destroy, they dominated the battlefield, forcing adversaries into positions of disadvantage. A corvette attempting to flank would find itself caught in a relentless barrage, its shields buckling under the unceasing onslaught. Larger ships, meanwhile, would feel the weight of attrition as the Gladiator's turbo lasers chipped away at their defenses, exposing vulnerabilities for a finishing strike. The turbo lasers symbolized control, a reminder that chaos in battle was not the absence of order, but its imposition by a superior force. I shall see if my men manage a few other plays. But the Gladiator was not only a hunter of ships, it was also a shield against the chaos of smaller threats. Its point defense medium laser cannon turrets, 10 in total, formed an intricate web of protection that extended like an unseen net around the ship. These turrets were not weapons in the traditional sense. They were guardians, their rapid pulses of energy a barrier against the swarm of starfighters and missiles that might seek to breach the Gladiator's perimeter. Where the turbo lasers projected power outward, the point defense lasers created a haven of safety within, a sanctuary in the midst of battle. Their targeting systems were marvels of engineering, capable of locking onto even the smallest, most agile targets with uncanny precision. In the blink of an eye, they could transform a deadly swarm of enemy fighters into nothing more than a glittering cloud of debris. Sophie climbed onto her motorized. The turrets did not act alone. They worked in concert, their fire patterns overlapping to ensure no gap existed in the ship's defenses. They were a reminder that the Gladiator was not just a tool of destruction, but a fortress in the stars, untouchable and resolute. While the turbo lasers and point defense systems served as the Gladiator's immediate tools of engagement, its true destructive potential lay in its warhead launchers. 10 launchers dotted the ship's surface, capable of deploying either proton torpedoes or assault concussion missiles. These were weapons of dread, their very presence on the battlefield a psychological blow to any adversary. Proton torpedoes, designed to pierce the toughest shields and detonate with devastating precision, were instruments of surgical strikes, annihilating critical systems or severing vital infrastructure with a single calculated blow. The assault concussion missiles, on the other hand, embodied chaos. When unleashed, these missiles did not simply destroy, they shattered. Their explosive force rippled through enemy formations, creating shockwaves that tore through ships and sent debris cascading through space. They were weapons of overwhelming presence, designed not just to kill, but to intimidate, to remind enemies of their futility in the face of Imperial engineering. These warheads were supported by an awe-inspiring arsenal of medium concussion missiles, a staggering 300 warheads stored within the ship's holds. This vast supply was more than mere ammunition. It was a promise of unyielding endurance. The Gladiator could outlast its foes, bombarding them with wave after wave of missiles until their shields failed, their hulls ruptured, and their crews surrendered to despair. Each missile launched was a statement. The Empire will not tire, and neither will its tools of war. But the Gladiator was not only a destroyer, it was a captor. Its 8 medium tractor beam projectors were the embodiment of control, invisible tendrils of power that reached out to seize and subdue. These projectors could immobilize fleeing ships, dragging them into the Gladiator's killing field, or holding them steady as its turbo lasers delivered the final blow. Against smaller vessels, the tractor beams were instruments of terror, yanking them from their desperate escape and holding them helpless before their doom. Yet these beams were not mere tools of destruction. They were tools of strategy, capable of isolating priority targets or manipulating the flow of battle itself. Together, these systems transformed the Gladiator-class into a paradox of war. A vessel both swift and unyielding, both precise and overwhelming. It was not the size of its guns or the strength of its shields that defined it, but the philosophy behind its construction. Each weapon was a piece of a grander puzzle, designed to fit seamlessly into a strategy of total domination. The Gladiator did not merely participate in battles, it orchestrated them, bending the chaos of war to its will. In the hands of a skilled commander, the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was more than a ship. It was an extension of the Empire's will. Its turbo lasers and warheads destroyed, its laser cannons defended, and its tractor beams controlled. To face a Gladiator was to confront inevitability, to realize that resistance was not an act of defiance, but a prelude to defeat. It was a masterpiece of war, a symbol of imperial strength, and a harbinger of the galaxy's unrelenting order. The Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was not merely a vessel of destruction, but a testament to the Empire's ability to wield the raw forces of nature in its pursuit of galactic order. At the heart of its formidable design lay its engines and power plant, an intricate symphony of energy and propulsion that gave this predator its uncanny speed, endurance, and tactical versatility. These systems were more than mechanisms. They were the pulse and breath of a ship that transformed the void of space into its domain. At the core of the Gladiator's power was its solar ionization reactor, a marvel of engineering that epitomized efficiency and overwhelming capacity. This reactor was a blazing heart of controlled fury, harnessing the energy of star-like fusion to power every weapon, system, and subsystem aboard the ship. The solar ionization reactor was more than a machine. It was a statement of purpose, converting the raw energy of the galaxy into the relentless force that propelled the Empire's will. The reactor was not just a source of power, but a symbol of balance, an entity that burned with unimaginable intensity, yet operated with precise control. It could direct its energy output to weapons, shields, or propulsion as the situation demanded, ensuring that the Gladiator was never caught unprepared. In the chaos of battle, the reactor's adaptability became its greatest asset, a reminder that power without control is mere destruction, but power harnessed is invincibility. Propelling this beast across the stars were its 2 main engine units, sleek and angular, their presence on the ship's hull an understated yet unmistakable mark of purpose. These engines were not only the driving force behind the Gladiator's movement, but also the bridge between its raw power and its graceful, predatory maneuverability. Unlike the vast, lumbering engines of larger star destroyers, the Gladiator's propulsion system was designed for agility, allowing it to weave through the void with uncanny precision. These engines operated in perfect harmony, channeling the solar ionization reactor's energy into thrust with an efficiency that bordered on elegance. Each pulse of energy from the reactor was translated into smooth acceleration, each burst of ionized plasma propelling the ship forward with a sense of inevitability. The Gladiator's engines did not merely push it through space, they commanded it, transforming inertial forces into an art form. Yet the Gladiator's true strength lay in its ability to transcend the physical boundaries of space. Its hyperdrive system, a dual-tiered marvel, allowed it to leap across the galaxy with a speed and reliability that ensured its dominance. The primary Class 1 hyperdrive was a masterpiece of precision, enabling the Gladiator to traverse vast interstellar distances with unparalleled swiftness. This hyperdrive was not just a tool of convenience, it was a weapon, a means to strike with devastating speed and precision, arriving before its enemies had time to prepare. Supporting the primary hyperdrive was a Class 8 secondary drive, a redundant system designed to ensure that even in the face of damage or sabotage, the Gladiator would never be stranded. This backup drive was a testament to the Empire's obsession with reliability, a safeguard that ensured the Gladiator could retreat, regroup, or continue its mission no matter the circumstances. Together, these hyperdrives turned the Gladiator into a ghost of war, capable of appearing where it was least expected and vanishing before retribution could follow. The hyperdrive system was more than a means of travel. It was a strategic tool, a reflection of the Gladiator's role as both hunter and enforcer. The ship could traverse the galaxy's lanes like a shadow, striking terror into systems that dared defy Imperial rule. The combination of speed and reliability ensured that no frontier was beyond the Gladiator's reach, no rebellion safe from its grasp. The synergy between the Gladiator's engines, power plant, and hyperdrive system created a ship that was more than a sum of its parts. It was a predator that hunted not just across the battlefield, but across the stars themselves. Its solar ionization reactor burned with the fury of a star. Its engines channeled that energy into graceful and purposeful motion, and its hyperdrive system shattered the boundaries of distance and time. To see the Gladiator in motion was to witness the Empire's philosophy in action, a perfect blend of efficiency, adaptability, and overwhelming power. It did not merely move through space, it commanded it, carving paths of fire and light through the endless void. The Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was not just a ship, it was a force of nature, a physical manifestation of the Empire's unrelenting march toward dominance. As a second hand, it had been a surprise to see the Empire's philosophy in action. The Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was a vessel whose very form embodied the duality of elegance and menace. At 600 meters in length, it was a striking silhouette, neither the gargantuan juggernaut of its Imperial-class siblings, nor the diminutive craft of support fleets. Instead, it stood as a perfect middle ground, a ship designed to dominate both the battlefield and the imagination. To see a Gladiator-class Star Destroyer emerge from hyperspace was to feel the weight of inevitability, its angular profile cutting through the void like a blade of judgment. The design of the Gladiator was more than functional. It was symbolic, a reflection of Imperial philosophy distilled into durasteel and energy. Its armored hull, meticulously crafted and reinforced, served not only as a barrier against enemy fire, but as a declaration of resilience. The plates of its armor gleamed coldly under starlight, a visual reminder of the Empire's belief in the unyielding nature of order. Beneath this armor lay the intricate workings of a machine designed for war. Power conduits, weapon systems, and corridors that hummed with purpose. This place was where the generals spent most of their meetings. The sensor systems, a network of long-range arrays, extended the ship's influence far beyond its physical presence. These sensors acted as the ship's eyes, reaching out into the infinite expanse of space to detect threats, opportunities, and anomalies. They were the precursors to every tactical decision, ensuring the Gladiator could strike with precision or evade with cunning. The sensor suite, coupled with the ship's Nave computer, gave it an unparalleled awareness of its surroundings, turning the Gladiator into a sentinel as much as a hunter. One of the most striking features of the Gladiator's design was its extensive hangar area, an open maw at the bow of the vessel that split its forward superstructure into two imposing halves. This hangar was not merely a functional space, It was the beating heart of the Gladiator's versatility, a cavernous bay that housed the tools of its dominance. Starfighters, the sharp fangs of the Empire's war machine, swarmed within this space, ready to spill forth in coordinated strikes or defensive screens. The design of the hangar itself was a masterpiece of efficiency, allowing multiple starfighters to launch or dock simultaneously. Its placement at the front of the vessel gave the Gladiator the appearance of a predator perpetually poised to strike, its open bow evoking the jaws of a beast ready to devour its prey. This forward-facing hangar was more than a practical choice. It was a statement, a reminder that the Gladiator was always on the offensive, always prepared to project its power outward. If there was any resistance, the men would dominate, not the other way around. They would fly. The layout of the forward superstructure, bisected by the hangar, created a silhouette that was both distinctive and intimidating. The twin structures that flanked the hangar were not merely aesthetic. They housed critical systems, command centers, and defensive emplacements. Their placement on either side of the hangar symbolized balance and strength, a visual representation of the ship's ability to coordinate its many functions with seamless precision. The Gladiator's design was not merely a tool of war, it was a philosophy made manifest. Every meter of its frame, every system and every feature was a testament to the Empire's pursuit of control. It was a ship that could adapt to any situation, its armored hull enduring punishment, its sensors guiding its strikes, its hangar deploying squadrons to overwhelm enemies, and its navicomputer charting paths through the chaos of the galaxy. And yet, the Gladiator's design carried a deeper meaning, one that spoke to its role as a symbol of the Empire's presence. Unlike the monumental Imperial-class Star Destroyers, whose sheer size inspired awe, the Gladiator's more modest dimensions allowed it to slip into the cracks of the galaxy's power struggles. Its design was that of a scalpel, precise and efficient, cutting through resistance with surgical accuracy. To encounter a Gladiator was to understand that the Empire's reach extended into every corner of the galaxy, that no system was too small, no rebellion too hidden to escape its notice. In its every feature, the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer balanced form and function, strategy and symbolism. It was a ship that did not just fight battles, it defined them. Its design was not merely the product of engineering, but of intent. A declaration that power, when wielded with precision, could shape the galaxy itself. The Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was more than a warship. It was a bastion of Imperial might, carrying within its armored hull the means to project power across both space and planetary surfaces. Its complement was a carefully curated arsenal of vessels and vehicles, each chosen not merely for its firepower, but for its role in extending the Gladiator's reach and versatility. Together, these assets transformed the Gladiator into a fully realized instrument of domination, capable of adapting to the myriad demands of galactic conflict. At the forefront of its complement were the 2 squadrons of starfighters, totaling 24 craft, whose presence was both tactical and symbolic. These nimble ships were the sharp, immediate edge of the Gladiator's arsenal, capable of unleashing havoc in the void of space, or providing close support during ground operations. Within these squadrons, TIE fighters were the most common, a fitting choice for their speed, maneuverability, and unyielding loyalty to Imperial doctrine. Starfighters were not merely tools of destruction. They were an extension of the Gladiator itself, swarming out of its massive forward hangar like a flock of predatory birds. The sight of these fighters in motion was a spectacle of coordinated chaos, each pilot guided by the will of the Empire as they executed flawless attacks, harried enemy ships, or intercepted incoming threats. The fighters were not independent entities. They operated as one, a manifestation of the Empire's belief in unity and control. While starfighters dominated the skies, the Gladiator's complement also included a force capable of asserting dominance on planetary surfaces. Among these assets were 5 ATST walkers, mechanical beasts of war, whose very steps seemed to resonate with the inevitability of Imperial conquest. These two-legged terrors were designed for versatility, capable of navigating uneven terrain while raining blaster fire upon enemy forces. The inclusion of ATSTs was not an afterthought, but a calculated decision, ensuring that the Gladiator could seamlessly transition from space superiority to planetary subjugation. These walkers, deployed from the ship's landing craft, were the spearhead of ground operations, their imposing presence demoralizing opposition, even before a single shot was fired. Supporting these war machines were a variety of shuttles and landing craft, the logistical backbone of the Gladiator's operations. These vessels were the lifelines that connected the Star Destroyer to the worlds it sought to conquer, ferrying troops, supplies, and vehicles to the surface with speed and efficiency. Shuttles were more than mere transports. They were symbols of Imperial precision, arriving exactly where and when they were needed to secure objectives and establish foothold. The landing craft, in particular, were a testament to the Gladiator's versatility. Capable of deploying troops and vehicles in contested zones, these robust vessels turned the Star Destroyer into a mobile command center, projecting power wherever it was required. Their rugged design and capacity for rapid deployment ensured that the Empire's presence could be felt on any battlefield, no matter how remote or hostile. The Gladiator's complement was not merely an assortment of assets. It was a cohesive force, designed to adapt to any theater of war. From the swift and deadly starfighters that patrolled the void to the ground-shaking ATSTs and the tireless shuttles and landing craft, every component worked in harmony to extend the ship's influence. To encounter the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was to face not just a ship, but a fully realized doctrine of Imperial warfare. Its complement represented the Empire's philosophy in microcosm: overwhelming strength, meticulous planning, and relentless execution. Whether in the depths of space or on the surface of a contested world, the Gladiator's arsenal ensured that it could conquer, control, and dominate with the same unyielding efficiency that defined the Galactic Empire itself. The Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was not merely a vessel of war. It was a living, breathing testament to Imperial efficiency and discipline, made real through the men and women who served aboard it. Its crew of 1,255 officers, pilots, and enlisted personnel formed the heart of this mechanical giant, their coordination and skill transforming the ship from an inert collection of systems and weapons into a true instrument of Imperial control. Each member of the crew, from the highest officer to the humblest technician, played an essential role in the flawless operation of the vessel, their lives intertwined with the fate of the Empire. The officers, the elite minds of the ship's hierarchy, were the architects of the Gladiator's tactics, strategy, and operations. They were the cold, calculating intelligence that steered the Star Destroyer through the storm of battle, their decisions shaping the outcome of conflicts across the galaxy. These men and women were not simply leaders. They were the embodiment of the Empire's will, their commands as unyielding as the structure of the ship itself. How well, with every order given, they reinforced the belief in order and obedience that was the foundation of the Empire's strength. The pilots, those who manned the starfighters, represented the sharp, dynamic edge of the Gladiator's arsenal. These fearless individuals lived and breathed the art of warfare, their every instinct honed to perfection through years of training. It was their hands that gripped the controls of the TIE fighters, their eyes that scanned the skies for enemies, and their reflexes that executed the strikes that turned the tide of battle. To be a pilot aboard a Gladiator was to understand that one's life was but a fleeting part of the greater purpose: to strike swiftly, decisively, and without hesitation in the name of the Empire. Then there were the enlisted crew, the unsung heroes whose work ensured the smooth functioning of the ship, day in and day out. These men and women were the backbone of the Gladiator, their hands constantly at work, maintaining the systems that kept the Star Destroyer running. From engineers repairing the ship's engines to communications officers relaying critical information, they were the silent force that made the grand strategies of the officers and the daring maneuvers of the pilots possible. They moved through the bowels of the ship, the corridors, the control rooms, each one contributing in their own way to the relentless efficiency of the Gladiator. In many ways, the crew was the silent soul of the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer. While the ship's formidable armament and imposing design were the most visible signs of its power, it was the crew's unity and unwavering loyalty that made the Gladiator truly unstoppable. Together, they ensured that the Star Destroyer could fulfill its purpose without falter, whether that purpose was to deliver devastating firepower in space or to strike with deadly precision on the surface of a planet. The relationship between the crew and the ship was one of mutual dependence. The Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was an extension of the Empire's will, and in turn, the crew was an extension of the Gladiator itself. Each crew member played their part in a finely tuned machine, and it was through their collective efforts that the ship was able to project the Empire's power across the galaxy. Their loyalty was unwavering, their commitment absolute. Together, they formed a cohesive force that ensured no enemy could stand against the might of the Gladiator. In battle, the crew became more than just personnel. They became the heart and soul of the ship. The officers, with their cold, strategic minds, steered the Gladiator through the chaos of combat. The pilots, with their lightning reflexes, ensured the ship's dominance in the sky. And the enlisted crew, with their tireless work ethic, kept the machine running smoothly. The Gladiator was not just a ship. It was a symbol of imperial might, and its crew was the force that brought it to life, ensuring that its legacy of power, precision, and control would endure. The Gladiator-class Star Destroyer, a vessel of war and dominance, carried more than just a crew and starfighters. It was home to the Empire's iron-fisted resolve, embodied through the 1,200 troops aboard, divided into 2 battalions of stormtroopers. These soldiers were not mere passengers. They were the vanguard of the Empire's ground forces, the spear point of imperial power, ready to be deployed at a moment's notice to crush any resistance, pacify rebellious planets, or maintain order wherever the Emperor's will required it. Their very presence aboard the Gladiator was a symbol of the Empire's absolute control, its iron grip that stretched from the stars to the very surface of worlds. The stormtroopers, clad in their iconic white armor, were an imposing sight. Nearly an entire battalion in each of the 2 divisions, ready to descend onto any battlefield with precision and overwhelming force. These soldiers were the embodiment of imperial discipline, trained in countless forms of warfare and capable of adapting to any situation. Their presence aboard the Gladiator was not incidental but by design, ensuring that the Star Destroyer was not only a terror in space, but also a harbinger of devastation once it touched down on hostile worlds. Each battalion of stormtroopers was meticulously organized, with officers, squads, and support units all working in harmony. The troopers were highly trained in both conventional and unconventional combat, capable of executing complex operations, whether it involved quelling planetary uprisings or securing critical facilities. They were the Empire's most trusted enforcers, their loyalty and commitment absolute. When the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer arrived at a planet, it was not simply an invasion force. It was the Empire arriving to impose its will with the full weight of its might. But the stormtroopers were not alone in their mission. The Gladiator's passenger compartment was also home to specialized units. Communications experts, medics, engineers, and tactical support teams, all of whom ensured that the troops could operate with maximum effectiveness. This mixture of soldiers and support personnel turned the Gladiator into a mobile command center, capable of deploying and sustaining ground operations at a level unmatched by most warships. The troops aboard the Gladiator were a direct extension of its doctrine, relentless, efficient, and unyielding. They embodied the Empire's belief in total order, total control. When the Gladiator descended into an atmosphere, the stormtroopers were not simply soldiers. They were the manifestation of imperial law, bringing with them the might of of the Emperor's will. The sight of a battalion marching across a planet's surface, with the massive shadow of the Gladiator looming overhead, was enough to inspire both awe and fear in equal measure. The stormtroopers themselves were more than mere soldiers. They were symbols of the Empire's might, each one a cog in the unrelenting machine that crushed resistance and ensured Imperial dominance. Their white armor, stark and intimidating, was a mark of their purpose: to be the face of the Empire wherever they were needed. The precision with which they operated, the cold efficiency of their tactics, was the result of years of rigorous training, ensuring that they could perform any task, from suppressing civilian unrest to conducting high-stakes raids. In the end, the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer's passengers were not just troops. They were instruments of Imperial power, ready to carry out the orders of their commanders without hesitation or mercy. Their presence was a reminder that, no matter where the Gladiator sailed, no corner of the galaxy would remain free from the watchful eyes of the Empire. The Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was a marvel of Imperial engineering, a product of meticulous design, strategic vision, and relentless manufacturing prowess. It was born from the mind of Wilex Blissix, a name synonymous with innovative military design within the Galactic Republic and later the Empire. Blissix, renowned for his work on starship concepts that combined both firepower and tactical versatility, imbued the Gladiator with a purpose that was as much about strategic flexibility as it was about raw destructive capability. His vision was clear: to create a vessel that could operate both as a dominating presence in space and as an efficient, fast-responding enforcer in planetary engagement. This vision would come to life through the efforts of two of the galaxy's most respected shipyards, Rendili Star Drive and Kuat Drive Yards. The initial design of the Gladiator class was handled by Rendili Star Drive, a company famed for its history of producing some of the most formidable warships in the galaxy, including the venerable Dreadnought-class heavy cruiser. Their expertise in large-scale ship construction, combined with their knowledge of military needs, laid the groundwork for the Gladiator's design. The early blueprints reflected the core principles of power projection, with the vessel's powerful weapons systems, spacious hangar bays, and formidable crew complement, all integrated into the ship's structure. However, as the design evolved and the Empire's demands for new vessels became ever more insistent, Kuat Drive Yards, the manufacturing titan known for creating the Empire's most iconic warships, including the Imperial-class Star Destroyer, took over the production of the Gladiator class. Their involvement ushered in a period of refinement and mass production, bringing Blissix's initial concept to full fruition. Kuat's vast industrial capabilities allowed for the scale and speed needed to bring these warships to the front lines of the Empire's growing campaign for galactic dominance. Livingstone's universe was the Empire's go-to. The result of this collaboration was a versatile class of warship that became a cornerstone of the Imperial fleet. The Gladiator I-class Star Destroyer, the initial model, was equipped with the firepower and maneuverability needed to assert Imperial control across space. It was the perfect complement to the larger, more imposing Imperial-class Star Destroyers, able to operate as a fleet support vessel or serve as a frontline combatant in more localized engagements. The Gladiator II-class Star Destroyer, an upgraded variant, was produced later, incorporating improvements in weapons, systems, and overall design. The subtle changes in the hull configuration, weapons systems, and internal layout were refined to increase the ship's efficiency and combat capabilities. The Gladiator II class had a sharper focus on versatility, with a greater emphasis on speed and adaptability, enabling it to perform a broader range of missions. This second iteration solidified the Gladiator class as a key asset in the Empire's starship roster, bridging the gap between the overwhelming power of larger destroyers and the specialized needs of smaller engagements. At a production cost of 3,4,0,0,0,0,0,0 credits, The Gladiator class was an expensive but necessary investment for the Imperial fleet. It was not the most lavish or largest ship in the Empire's arsenal, but its balance of power, maneuverability, and firepower made it a cost-effective choice for both fleet support and direct engagement. Each Gladiator-class Star Destroyer represented a major financial commitment, yet its efficiency in combat ensured that it more than paid back its worth in the destruction it caused. The production process of the Gladiator class was a seamless blend of cutting-edge design and efficient mass production, a combination that made these ships ubiquitous across the Empire. They were manufactured in the vast shipyards of Kuat drive yards, where they were constructed with the precision of an industrial juggernaut. Once the entire process, from design to final construction, was a testament to the power of Imperial manufacturing and the relentless drive to maintain an overwhelming military presence throughout the galaxy. Ultimately, the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was not just a ship. It was a reflection of the Empire itself. Efficient, unyielding, and perfectly adapted to the needs of an empire built on domination. Through the combined efforts of Walex Blissex, Rendeli Star Drive, and Kuat drive yards, the Gladiator was forged as a tool of galactic supremacy, ensuring the Empire's power would reach from the stars to the surface of every world that fell beneath its banner. At the height of the Galactic Civil War, the Blood Ambition, a Gladiator I-class Star Destroyer, commanded by Captain Ralchio Nervi, epitomized the power and precision of the Imperial fleet. This warship was more than a vessel. It was the heart of an elite Imperial task force, meticulously engineered for rapid, devastating strikes and maintaining control over the galaxy's most volatile sectors. The task force was a reflection of the Empire's military doctrine, combining speed, overwhelming firepower, and unmatched tactical coordination. It was not simply a collection of ships. It was a lethal unit, designed to project Imperial strength with cold efficiency. At the core of this task force stood the Blood Ambition, a Gladiator-class Star Destroyer capable of projecting enormous firepower through its vast array of turbolasers, ion cannons, and concussion missiles. The Blood Ambition was accompanied by two Raider I-class corvettes, the Sargantuan and the Warhawk, which, like their larger counterpart, had earned a fearsome reputation among both Rebel and Imperial forces for their deadly swarming tactics. These corvettes were designed to be fast and maneuverable, striking with pinpoint accuracy, often overwhelming smaller Rebel ships or harrying larger targets, while the Blood Ambition focused its firepower on more substantial threats. Their tactics involved coordinated, rapid strikes, hitting enemies where they were most vulnerable and providing essential support during larger engagements. While the Blood Ambition and its support ships dominated the space battle, a substantial ground invasion force was ready to deploy should the need arise. Lieutenant Colonel Earl Hovlin, a highly regarded officer known for his tactical acumen and quick decision-making, led 2 battalions of stormtroopers, specially trained for planetary assaults. These soldiers, equipped with advanced ground vehicles, heavy weapons, and specialized combat gear, were prepared to land on hostile worlds at a moment's notice and crush any rebel resistance. With over 1,000 soldiers, these elite troopers were the Empire's hammer on the ground, bringing brutal efficiency to every engagement they faced. To support these ground operations, several squadrons of TIE fighters were deployed as well, providing air superiority and strategic support in both space and planetary battles. The TIE fighters, notorious for their speed and maneuverability, played a crucial role in maintaining control over the skies, ensuring that the rebel starfighters were neutralized before they could pose a threat to the task force. These aerial units also provided close air support during planetary invasions, giving the task force the flexibility to strike quickly and decisively without fear of rebel air interference. The task force's most significant and ultimately tragic engagement occurred during the Battle of Zorn, a brutal and pivotal confrontation with the Rebel Alliance. The Battle of Zorn was a decisive moment in the conflict, where both the Blood Ambition and its support ships found themselves facing an overwhelming rebel fleet. The Rebel Alliance launched a massive offensive, deploying several capital ships, starfighters and bombers, all intent on inflicting significant damage to the Imperial war machine. The task force, despite its overwhelming firepower, found itself unable to withstand the ferocity of the rebel assault. The battle began with chaotic ship-to-ship combat, as the Blood Ambition and its fleet clashed with the incoming rebel forces. TIE fighters from both sides engaged in brutal dogfights, while capital ships exchanged heavy fire. The Blood Ambition, despite its superior firepower and tactical coordination, began to lose ground. Rebel forces, with their superior numbers and daring maneuvers, focused their fire on the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer, gradually wearing down its shields and hull. The ship's engines were struck in rapid succession, crippling its maneuverability and leaving it vulnerable to further attack. As the battle raged, the Blood Ambition attempted to regroup, but its fate was sealed. Rebel forces launched a coordinated strike, aiming for the ship's critical systems. The Gladiator-class Star Destroyer's massive turbo lasers fell silent as the ship's hull was breached, and the damage to its hangars, which housed TIE fighters and assault craft, was catastrophic. Axem Point, Jane Pen Couple. Within moments, the Blood Ambition was reduced to a burning wreck in the depths of space. Its once proud engines silent, its weapons destroyed. The death of Captain Nervi and the loss of the Blood Ambition signaled a devastating blow to the Empire. It was not only a physical loss of a valuable warship, but also a psychological one, as the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer had been a symbol of Imperial might. Its destruction highlighted the vulnerability of even the most powerful Imperial vessels in the face of a determined and resourceful enemy. The Empire, despite its overwhelming firepower, could be defeated, and the Rebel Alliance had proven that no Imperial warship was beyond reach. Harriet. The Battle of Zorn became a symbol of sacrifice and resolve. The courage shown by Captain Nervi, Lieutenant Colonel Hovlin, and the soldiers aboard the Blood Ambition would live on as a testament to the Imperial spirit. The destruction of the Blood Ambition marked the end of an era for the task force, but it also underscored the costs of war. Despite its overwhelming power and terrifying reputation, the Blood Ambition, like all things in the brutal theater of galactic conflict, was ultimately fleeting. The battle became a symbol of the Imperial struggle, a reminder that even the greatest forces could fall in the face of determined resistance. In the aftermath, the Empire mourned its loss, but the Rebel Alliance celebrated a hard-fought victory. The Blood Ambition's destruction would forever remain in Imperial history, not just for the ship itself, but as a stark reminder that in war, no victory was ever assured, and the balance of power could shift in an instant. In 2 BBY, one of the mighty Gladiator-class Star Destroyers was dispatched to the remote world of Camino, a planet on the outskirts of the galaxy, known for its tumultuous weather and vast oceans. The ship was given the critical mission of guarding the Timira City cloning facility, a top-secret Imperial installation located on the cliffs of the planet's storm-ridden coast. This facility, central to the Empire's efforts to maintain dominance across the galaxy, played a pivotal role in producing the Stormtrooper legions essential for Imperial expansion and control. The cloning process itself was highly classified, and the cloning vats housed on Camino were essential for creating the Empire's genetically modified soldiers, each bred for unwavering obedience and combat prowess. The Timira City cloning facility was not just a building, but a sprawling complex, a symbol of Imperial ambition, perched upon the cliffs of the ocean world. Massive platforms extended from the cliffs, housing the facility's main cloning laboratories, vats, and research areas. The storm-ravaged skies above and the ocean's surging waves below created an almost impenetrable environment. making Camino one of the most isolated and secure facilities in the galaxy. The Imperial fleet considered it indispensable for maintaining control over the galaxy, especially as the Rebel Alliance gained strength and targeted vital Imperial assets. Formerly, the Empire was overrun, and the Empire's fleet almost destroyed Barak and Peter. To ensure the security of such a vital location, a Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was stationed in orbit above the facility. This vessel, a formidable symbol of Imperial might, was equipped with a vast array of turbo lasers, ion cannons, missile launchers, and several squadrons of TIE fighters. Its imposing presence alone served as a deterrent to any potential threats. Its crew, more than 1,000 officers, technicians, and gunners, maintained a constant vigil, prepared to defend the facility against any incursion. However, despite its overwhelming firepower and the significant number of troops on board, the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer was not invulnerable. Like all large vessels aboard the Star Destroyer, though designed to excel in ship-to-ship combat, the Gladiator-class was also equipped to support ground operations, especially with the complement of TIE fighters capable of rapid planetary deployment. Given the importance of the Temira City cloning facility, the Star Destroyer was positioned as the first line of defense in space, an ever-present threat against anyone foolish enough to challenge the Empire's grip on this vital world. However, it was only a matter of time before the growing threat of the Rebel Alliance would come to Camino. The Rebel Alliance, which had once been a scattered group of insurgents, had grown significantly in strength and sophistication. With their increasing success in hit-and-run tactics and guerrilla warfare, they had learned to exploit the weaknesses of the mighty Imperial warships. Camino, with its strategic importance to the Empire, became a prime target for the rebels, a world crucial to the continued production of stormtroopers, and therefore vital to the Empire's military structure. The rebel attack on Camino was not just a desperate raid. It was a meticulously planned, multi-pronged assault designed to cripple the Empire's cloning operations and deliver a blow to Imperial morale. The attack was launched by a mixed fleet consisting of Nebulon frigates, Mon Calamari star cruisers, and numerous rebel starfighters and bombers. They used Camino's thick storm clouds to their advantage, masking their approach and taking advantage of the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer's limited sensors and inability to navigate the storm-saturated atmosphere efficiently. The battle began with a surprise bombing raid, launched by a fleet of X-Wing and Y-Wing fighters who raced through the turbulent skies to strike at the Star Destroyer. TIE fighters scrambled from the Gladiator class, engaging the rebels in a series of intense dogfights. But despite their superior maneuverability, the rebel pilots were well coordinated and executed precision attacks. They quickly focused their fire on the Star Destroyer's shields and communication systems, seeking to disable its ability to respond effectively to the oncoming assault. Despite the overwhelming firepower of the Gladiator class, the rebels' superior tactics proved more effective. As the Star Destroyer unleashed devastating turbo laser fire, it was clear that the ship was ill-suited for close-range combat within the dense Caminoan atmosphere. The rebel forces launched waves of bombers, targeting the Gladiator-class' most vulnerable components, its engines and communication relays. The bombers managed to breach the Star Destroyer's shields and deliver powerful blows to its engine compartments, leaving it partially crippled. While the ship's weaponry remained intact, its maneuverability was significantly reduced, making it an easier target for the rebel assault. Simultaneously, the rebel fleet launched an assault on the Temira City cloning facility. Special forces infiltrated the facility with the intent to destroy the cloning vats and sabotage the cloning operations that were so crucial to the Empire's military efforts. Though the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer attempted to deploy its TIE fighters in support of the facility, the rebel infiltrators quickly overwhelmed the defenders, dealing significant damage to the cloning chambers and research data terminals. However, despite their success in disrupting the facility's operations, the rebels did not completely destroy it. The battle reached its apex as the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer, now heavily damaged and struggling to maintain its defensive position, found itself surrounded by multiple rebel capital ships. A coordinated strike from the rebel bombers finally broke through the Star Destroyer's remaining defenses, leading to a catastrophic series of explosions in the aft sections of the vessel. The Gladiator-class Star Destroyer, once a symbol of the Empire's power, was reduced to a charred wreck in the swirling atmosphere of Camino. By the time the rebel fleet withdrew, the Gladiator-class Star Destroyer had been decimated. Its crew had either been lost or captured, and while the Timira City cloning facility remained operational, it was heavily damaged. The rebel victory was symbolic. The Empire had suffered a significant loss, not just in terms of the Star Destroyer, but in terms of its once unquestioned superiority. This engagement served as a reminder of the vulnerability of even the most formidable Imperial vessels when faced with determined and tactical adversaries. The rebels had demonstrated their ability to strike at the heart of the Empire's most strategic assets, and Camino had been shown to be vulnerable for the first time in years. The battle over Camino was not just a setback for the Empire. It was a harbinger of the changing balance of power. The Rebel Alliance, with its superior tactics and growing strength, had demonstrated that the Empire could no longer rely solely on its powerful warships to maintain control over the galaxy. Camino, once considered secure, had been shown to be vulnerable, and the rebels had proven that with the right strategy, even the most fortified Imperial facilities could be compromised. The Empire's overconfidence had been shattered, and the rebels had struck a decisive blow in their ongoing struggle for galactic freedom. The Demolisher, a formidable Gladiator-class Star Destroyer, was once regarded as a shining example of the Empire's military power, a vessel that exuded authority and control over the galaxy. With its imposing turbo-laser arrays, ion cannon systems, and the deadly support of TIE fighter squadrons, the Demolisher was designed to enforce the Emperor's will with devastating force. Its commander, Admiral Terranault Screed, was a seasoned tactician known for his military brilliance. Under his command, the Demolisher completed numerous high-profile missions, securing Imperial dominance across the Outer Rim territories, where rebel activity was becoming more frequent and bold. The Demolisher was engineered not just for large-scale fleet engagements, but also for quick response operations. Its sleek, angular hull housed advanced weapon systems and a large hangar, accommodating various TIE fighters, including TIE interceptors and TIE bombers. While the ship's primary role was as a heavy warship, it could easily switch to a rapid strike force, deploying its firepower with surgical precision against enemy installations. Its crew, highly trained and disciplined, could deliver devastating attacks on rebel fleets or neutralize resistance on the ground. However, in BBY-15, the Demolisher's journey took an unexpected turn. Stationed at an Imperial repair dock for routine upgrades, following a recent engagement with rebel forces, the ship was temporarily vulnerable. Kier Kibo Renchar, a notorious pirate leader, known for his cunning and ruthlessness, saw an opportunity to strike. Renchar, who had long plagued the Empire with his raids, had amassed a fleet of modified ships, but had always dreamed of acquiring a capital ship. The Demolisher, with its lethal arsenal, was the prize he had been waiting for. Renchar's pirate crew, a mix of mercenaries, smugglers, and saboteurs, used their extensive network of informants to learn of the Demolisher's maintenance schedule. Under the cover of darkness, they launched a surprise assault on the repair station, using stealth and brute force to breach its defenses. They swiftly neutralized the guards and made their way to the Demolisher, aiming to disable its systems and steal the ship before the Empire could react. Suddenly the sky flared with flashing lights, and they took off in the Demolisher's maintenance schedule.
Despite their lack of formal military training, the pirates were highly resourceful, using EMP pulses and hacking devices to disable the Demolisher's key systems. Within hours, Ren Char's forces had seized the command bridge and navigational systems, taking full control of the ship. With their new prize in hand, the pirates set a course for Tamuzan, a mineral-rich world, hoping to plunder its resources and sell the spoils to the highest bidder.
On Tamuzan, Ren Char's plan was to disable the planet's defenses, overwhelm the garrisons, and raid its resources. He hoped to escape before the Empire could muster a response, but he underestimated the Empire's reach. As soon as the Demolisher was reported missing, an Imperial response fleet, including Imperial-class Star Destroyers and TIE Fighters, was dispatched to reclaim the vessel. The battle for Tamuzan began with a violent clash between the pirates and the Imperial fleet. Admiral Screed, determined to recover the stolen Demolisher, personally led the mission to retake the ship. The pirates, despite initial successes, were no match for the Imperial force's sheer efficiency and firepower. Ren Char's pirates launched several turbo-laser barrages against the planet's defenses and deployed modified TIE fighters to harass local forces. However, the Imperial response was overwhelming. Within hours, the Demolisher was surrounded by a full Imperial task force. Boarding operations were launched, and after fierce combat aboard the ship, the Imperial Navy regained control. The pirates were defeated, and though the Demolisher was severely damaged, it was reclaimed by the Empire. Ren Char's crew was captured, though they managed to avoid execution through diplomatic negotiations. "Caged granticide," said Fleming. For Admiral Screed, the return of the Demolisher was bittersweet. While the ship was eventually repaired and returned to service, the brief time it had spent in the hands of criminals had left a lasting mark on its reputation. The Demolisher had been stolen and used against the very Empire it was meant to protect. A harsh reminder of how even the most powerful ships could be vulnerable to those who dared challenge Imperial rule.